Hey everybody, welcome back to the Gamers Lounge podcast. My name is John Meadows. With me as always is Dennis, Nathaniel, and Robert. It was really hard for me not to say Eric.
Oh, yeah, he's missing this time.
I'm throwing you off.
Yeah. Eric's throwing me off. He's at a baseball game. I guess they still play baseball. I don't know. I don't keep up with baseball.
He'd rather do that.
Wait, like he's in a baseball game?
He went to him and his buddies. I think went to go see the Seattle Mariners, whatever professional team
right.
Seattle has. See, that shows you how much I don't keep up with baseball anymore.
Awesome. I hope they get a touchdown.
His loyalty lies. Okay.
I hope they get a 3-point conversion. I don't know what that means.
I'm looking forward to the highlights of the hat trick.
Yeah.
I believe both of those are when there's two people on base and someone hits a home run. Yes,
No, that could be. We were watching.
Wait, who's on first?
We were watching that new USFL the other day, and they were like, "Hey, it's a 9-point game, but don't think that they can't tie it because you could go for a 3-point play in this." I'm like, how can you go for 3 points in football? And they never explained how you could do it, so I don't understand. I was like, okay, whatever. I enjoy watching football, so I'll put any football on, but
you do like the extra point, but instead of going for your goal, you have to turn around backwards and kick it all the way down the field.
Could have been. I have no idea. It's hard to tell. You know, you're trying to get viewers, so why not? I mean,
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I guess so.
Just wait till they introduce half points, and then you're just screwed.
Oh, half points. That's worse than that. Sounds like a soccer thing to me. Half points.
Is that when you score during halftime?
Yeah, that is. It's the band.
You're
comes
pretty
out.
good. Yeah.
You get a half point for every band member that you ping with a football, or
No, that's when you get demoted points. You can't mess with the band,
okay,
man.
all right. Okay, well, I tried.
The band will beat your ass.
Well, they will because
And
they
They
they've
have
got-
weapons.
Yeah, I was going to say
they've
they
got-
have brass instruments, so they could usually.
Yeah.
They could,
And if they're also a band with a color guard with them, they've got all sorts of
Oh my gosh,
stuff
yeah.
that they can just toss at you, like spinning over end and decapitate you, man. You're
I've
dead.
seen halftime shows. I've seen college bands. They go. Some of them are, they got a lot going for them. So.
They get passionate.
Yeah, they do. They actually absolutely do. So, but anyway, we're not here to talk about sports. I mean, unless we're playing sports video games. But I guess Dennis is. I was
Who's
just
got a
getting ready to
sports
say-
game on the list?
I was going to say, let me see if I got a
Spoilers.
sports game on the list.
There are no sports games here. None.
No,
Zero.
none at all.
Absolutely none. We're just going to delete that thing
But
from
Sony
Dennis's
gave
list.
you
It's fine.
FIFA for free this month.
Oh, yay. I mean, I guess.
Wait, what now?
I mean, that is. I will say that it is the most popular video game in the world. It's just not the most popular video game with me or a lot of Americans. But you know
So
what I mean.
instead of
Or
going
anybody in this podcast.
Yeah, or anybody at this point.
So
That's
you
right.
just got a newer FIFA for free instead of going to like GameStop and getting like one that's 3 years old for free or
Yeah,
mostly free.
Penny.
$1.75.
They're like,
Yeah.
please take it. We have
That's
too many
right.
FIFAs.
Yeah.
Just take it.
Yeah. 99
You can't
cents
read the
or
sticker.
whatever.
It's too faded.
Or it's got this many stickers piled on it. It's like 3 inches thick, where it's went from 60 to 50 to 40 to 30 to 10 to.
Well, if you don't like the price that's
That's
on
right.
top, that just means you can keep peeling, right? Until
Mhm,
you
till
find the
get
price
the
you're
one that
okay
you
with.
like. Yeah, absolutely.
What is this negative $5 price? Does that mean you pay me $5 to take it from you? Oh, deal.
Yeah.
Jeez. Store credit, sure.
Sure. Yeah. We will pay you store
cash
credit to
only.
take this game. So, but yeah. So, but well, let's talk about games anyway. I really don't have a whole lot of games to talk about. I haven't played a whole lot this week. I took my Xbox with me on the road again, but I hooked it up and I pretty much did rewards all week. I didn't really play anything. I didn't play. I played more on my Steam Deck. I'm still just trying out different games on the Steam Deck to see which one I want to play. They actually brought out a beta software, and I wasn't originally going to do the beta software stuff for it because I thought, well, maybe it'll be too unstable or stuff like that. But I heard about the new one that they brought out, and you can actually change the refresh rate of the screen. So, like, let's say your game's only going maybe 45, frames per second. You can actually turn the refresh rate, the screen refresh rate, down to 40 to make it more smoother. And it actually makes some games really, really good, especially if it's a game where you're wanting to top out at 60 frames per second, but maybe the game can only hit 50. And when you turn, you still get that blur. Well, if you kick the resolution or the refresh rate of the screen down to 50 to match, it looks a lot smoother. So it's kind of I don't want to say it's like a VRR or something like it, but it almost kind of is. It it really
it's a manual variable
Yeah.
refresh rate.
yeah, which is cool that you could do that. I mean, you can get down to fine tuning that much, and you could kick it all the way down to like 40, if you want. And then the only thing I wish it had was I wish you could set up, like when you boot a game, that it could save those settings. So when you back out of a game and then you go into a game that does 60 frames, you have to turn it manually back up again.
I feel like that's going to be the problem a lot of the time is you're just going to have to keep playing with it because most games, unfortunately, aren't always that stable, right? They're always, jumping up and down depending on what's going on screen. So I don't know. I don't know how handy it's going to be. Hopefully, like you said, for like those kind of in between numbers, the 50 frames per second, maybe that helps it out.
Yeah.
But you gotta find something that you're just kind of okay with and stick with it.
Right. Yeah. Or, because there's a lot of games that just easily do 60 frames a second on there, no problem. But there's some that don't, and it's like I wish I could set up a profile that when I launch this game, it just automatically goes whoop, and it moves those settings back, or I have to remember, okay, wait a minute, I got to change this to do this so it'll be more smooth. And sometimes
I wonder if they will either implement that in the future, or if like the PC Steam client, you can do like your flags and stuff for when you launch, like you're running from a command prompt and putting all the different modifying things on it. You can do that in there. So I wonder if the Steam Deck will get that at some point, where you can be like, hey, change the refresh rate, yada yada. Whether they do it as an actual like command line thing or just options.
Yeah,
I'm sure they'll put it in some point.
Yeah, and they may. I'm sure they're constantly tinkering with the software. I mean, I'm not saying there's like updates every day, but at least once a week there's a good update. Now, if you're running the beta software, there's an update like every other day.
Yeah.
But it's cool the way you flip back and forth. You just go into settings and go run the beta software, and the screen just goes boop, and you're running the beta software. Oh, let me go back to stable, boop. It goes.
Yeah.
You're not like having to boot it down and load it back up or anything like that. It could just do it on the fly, which is nice. But I was trying to think of what I have played on Steam Deck that I was playing Batman pretty regularly, and then it actually crashed on me the other night, and that's the first time I've ever had a game on the Steam Deck crash. Of course, that's not a supported game. It says it's not on.
Which Batman are you playing?
Origins.
Okay.
The one that's
what
really
happens
good
when it crashes?
It just gives you a screen like it does on the PC.
Windows?
Okay.
Okay.
It comes up and it says fatal error, blah 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 blah, and then it just shuts it down. And
yeah,
I didn't even bother to reboot it. I was getting ready to go to bed anyway, so it's like, well, I'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But what game was it? It wouldn't pull. I bought Fallen Order because it was on sale for $10 because of May the 4th be with you, and I it wouldn't carry my save over, which was really weird. I'd started playing it, and I went to bed, and then woke up the next day, and I had played it a full hour after that. It's like the cloud save didn't work, and I don't know if that was an Origin thing, because you have to have the Origin thing running in the background. Even though you buy it on Steam, you install Origin, and it boots Origin in the back, so it'll play.
Yeah, it's got the mini launcher, yeah.
Yeah, so it was like, so I had to start like an hour. I lost like an hour of progress, so I don't know. I still can't figure that one out.
What, didn't even have like a local save?
Well, it just,
weird.
Yeah, it was very strange. It was like, I know I saved it, before I quit playing the other night, but it wasn't there. So, big deal. It was an hour. It's not like I'd beaten the first planet and went off to the next one and went, I got to do the whole planet over again. Whatever. I've beat that game to death, so I'm just playing it now for fun. It is pretty cool though to play it in a handheld and be like, "Ooh, the graphics are awesome and it moves real smooth." And it's like, geez, it's like I can actually see things on it. The reading gets kind of hard, but it's just. It's good. I haven't turned the Switch on since I got the Steam Deck. It's kind of like it's going to be hard to go back to some games on the on the Switch. But
well, for the Switch, it's really all about the exclusives anyway, right?
Yeah. It's like me with PlayStation. That's it's the exclusives. Either whatever games I can't get on Xbox, I play. I get it on PlayStation. At this point, though, the way things are with Steam Deck, it may move it to. I would really like to see Sony do more of their games, not 3 or 4 years after release on Steam. I would like to see them a little sooner. I'm not saying day and date.
See what happens with those once they get through kind of like their back catalog of hits that they've been putting out, because they still have several of those they haven't done. Like Uncharted is going to be like June or July, something like that.
Yeah.
For that collection they've already announced, and then there's a few others that you'd be like, oh yeah, they'll probably put this on PC if you had to guess. So once they get through all those, maybe they'll start putting that release date on PC back a little bit. It'll be like we're in the mid 2000s again for Sony, where it's like the PC port is so much delayed for games, where that was more typical, whereas now they come out a lot more like day and date or pretty soon after, or even before sometimes. But
yeah. And
Sony's just behind. They're running.
Well, I know that
reverse dilemma.
I know they've said that they've wanted to do more in the PC space, so I definitely think that's something that they're planning to roll out.
Well, they've hired
once they get
for
everything caught up.
They've made a whole subgroup now for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say they got rid of their PlayStation Mobile, I think, section, and then just completely replaced that with PlayStation PC. Now that's what it's called.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I think a lot of it's probably going to have to do with, well, one of the news stories about the rumored, acquisitions that they may do. Those, if they keep getting studios and adding new studios that traditionally release on their games on PC day and date with everybody else, that might change a lot of how Sony does.
Well, it's going to depend on a couple things. One, what do they want to do with PC? And then two, if they want to release stuff on PC earlier, they have to build that infrastructure for a lot of their main studios that just haven't done that.
Yeah.
So that's going to take a little bit of time to build up. Even if they wanted to do it right away, they couldn't. They still have to figure out how to make that work.
Yeah. And, I mean, they're leaving money on the table. I mean, you can tell, you look at the top 10 of, games sold, especially when a Sony game comes out, and it's usually in the top 5, if not number 1 spot for several weeks after it comes out, or months or years. I mean, I don't know where God of War still. I haven't seen it, but I know it was still high on the weekly sold list. So, and then we'll have their spring. They'll have their spring sale in late May for some reason. I don't know why that's. I saw that the other day. I'm like, when's Steam having their spring sale? Oh, it's the last week of May. Well, that's really not spring. That's more.
And then their summer sale is going to be like the last week of June or something.
It's
typically is.
Yeah. What are you doing?
Which that's going to be the ridiculous one.
Yeah,
it's just Steam.
Yeah.
They do weird stuff. Most of their sales aren't all that amazing until Christmas, one at the end of the year. Every once, the other sales are worth looking at because they'll have some good deals, but most of the lots of good deals, that's that end of the year sale.
Well, since Dennis has the most games, we'll save him for last. We'll go in reverse order and see what Robert's been playing, because I have not played Bugsnax. I do have it. I've got it on PS5, and it's on. I think it's on Game Pass now. I haven't even played it.
It is now, yeah.
So. How is
well, that was my first question, was who's played Bugsnax?
I have.
I knew Nathaniel had, but I haven't.
Yeah, I mean, I got it when it came out on PS Plus for PS5.
Yeah.
I think it was the first month, when the first
I think so.
free game, 1 or 2. But I put far too much time into that game, and I ended up platinuming it back in the day. And man, I've been keeping my ear to the ground, trying to find out when they're going to come out with a sequel, because if you've played through the story stuff, you kind of know by how they left things that it's definitely leading into something. So when they announced a few months ago that they were having some DLC dropping, I was super stoked about it. And I had so many plans last week or this past week to play all kinds of things. And then I remember that Bugsnax came out. So that's what got my time. And going back in there, man, it has so much charm to it. And if you like Pokemon, you're going to feel right at home catching these guys. It's like if they mixed Pokemon and Pokemon Snap together, but of course, it's not Nintendo, so it's all these off-branded little critters. But I mean, they all say their names as they're running around, and some of them are hilariously voiced, and other ones are the most obnoxious things you'll ever hear, and you want to throw your controller at them just to get them away from your screen. But the new DLC, it's just more. more of what you loved about the game, or I guess hated it if you didn't like it. But it added a whole nother section to the game, basically, where I mean, just like all the other areas of the game, there are puzzles and you have to. There's new critters to catch this time. Just like the name implies, they are these ginormous versions of themselves. So there's a new game mechanic where you have to be able to shrink them before you can catch them in your net or your like trap, so to speak. And so that just adds a whole nother element to it. And the mechanic for making them smaller it's like a time-based one. So there is this like purple, I don't know, smoke that you get, that it gives you like 30 seconds to like throw it at one of the Bugsnax to shrink them. So in addition to whatever puzzle you have to solve to make them catchable, they also have to be small at that same time. So it gets really chaotic, and I did stream it earlier in the week, and if you go back and look at it, I'm just like raging out at some of these Bugsnax, just almost impossible to get. I don't even know how I got some of them. It was just like by chance, something that I did caused 2 or 3 of them to just like collide into each other, and I just ran over real quick and made sure I had room in my inventory and snagged them all up. But the voice acting is as good as ever. Story wise, it does take place before the end of the game, and a lot of the things that they've added beyond just this additional area are these like fetch quests or side missions, and there's a lot of these things. So because I've returned after doing so much in the game already, a lot of them just immediately like unlocked, and I had all these new customizable options, because now you can have your own hut in the game. Each of the characters, they're called grumpuses. They have like a hut in the main area of this hub world, and now you have your own. So you get all these cool customizable options by doing these side quests. Now these side quests, if you were playing through the game for the first time and you got these side quests, I feel like they would be so much more engaging. Like they're still fun, and it was a good time for me to go back in and just hang around in this world, cleaning up the rest of the trophies to get back to 100%. But if I had these available to me when I was playing the first time, man, it really would have like broken up some of the monotony of just traversing these little areas and just catching the Bugsnax. Because the way that it works, you can only have like 4 or 5 of them active at a time. And after you complete one of those 4, it'll give you another one until you do some more. So you always have like a backlog of these things that you can do. And then they've added some hats for the Bugsnax. I don't have, if you've ever played Kana, I know you have, Dennis. The little rots, I think as they're called.
Rots,
you could collect hats for them. And in
some
this
hats
you can
are
now
better than others in that game. There's some really cool ones, and then there's like, oh, that one's kind of, I can't even see it. It's because it's so small. So when they're all running around, it's like I can't see
right.
what hat
And
you have.
it's very similar here. So because the Bugsnax are all different sizes now, there's one area of the world that will have a hat on a Bugsnax for every in-game day, and there's like this farm in the main area that has like a picture on the wall that shows you which area of the game has a Bugsnax with a hat on it. So then you're like, all right, cool, it's noon, let me go teleport over here to this section of the world, and you start looking around for these Bugsnax. Well, some Bugsnax, you have to meet certain requirements before you can see them. They might be hidden, but then you have some that are really, really small, and you can't always tell if they have a hat on, especially if it's something like, I don't know, like a tiara or a small crown or something, unless you really like take out your viewfinder and you zoom in on all of these little critters. So there were times when I just got frustrated with an area. I warped back to my little home area and just slept until the next day at noon, checked the board, and was like, all right, we're gonna go check out this new area, until there was one that was of decent size that I'm like, I can go catch this.
So you said tiara, so all I could think of is what's her name on The Big Bang Theory when Sheldon's trying to make up with her, and he buys her a tiara, and she goes, "You brought me a trinket? Why, it's a tiara."
I mean, well, I don't think I've actually found a tiara. I think I found a crown, but it was of the same.
See, I want that
same type of
I
thing.
want you to do that when you find one. Oh, it's a tiara.
I don't know how many hats there are. Even though they've added quite a bit of content, I'd say if you do all of these side missions, you're probably looking at a good another 10 hours or so in this game. And I mean, unless you know exactly what to do, like it's a lot on top of the extra area of the game. But I only ended up I got like 10 hats because one of the 3 trophies they added was just to collect 10 hats. And so I just didn't care. I was like, I got my trophy. I'm good.
Right.
We're moving on.
Yeah.
Let's wrap the rest of these up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I love it, man. And I'm still looking forward to the next one that comes out. And I hope it's a full price game. I'll give them my money. They've earned it at this point. They've taken a lot of my time.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Yeah. It's one that I'd on my list to play, but I've just never booted up.
I mean, if you're just looking for like something chill, like play that. It's a great time waster. You're gonna have some laughs with it. There are frustrating times if you're really like getting into it and you're like, man, I really want this one specific Bugsnax or I need it, but I don't know what I'm doing. You might have to put it away or wait. Yeah, way less chill at that point. That's what I've been doing.
That's cool. Oh, I forgot. I did get to play some Sea of Thieves 2 weeks ago and finally got Pirate Legend.
Oh yeah.
Hey, congrats.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
Never play again. Oh wait, this is Judd. Never mind.
Oh yeah. Now the game really starts. It took me 6 days.
The grind is over. He can have fun now.
I can have fun now. The grind is over.
Grind 2.0 is here.
Yeah.
It's now grind 2.0.
Well, it was funny because we did 2 stores on one day and they were both done. So we started at 7:30. By 9:30, there was nothing to do. So he was like, "Well, I'm going home. You can go back to the hotel and do whatever you want for the rest of the day." So I went, "I'm going to finish grinding out Pirate Legend because I'm awake and I got nothing better to do." So I sat in the chair for 3 or 4 hours and then grinded it out and then realized, oh yeah, now I got a whole nother faction to grind out. And I got all these other missions to run and everything like that. So I still have to finish.
Nikki, cancel my appointments.
Yeah. I'm officially retiring from work. I've got too much stuff to do.
It's almost as if they want you to keep playing that game forever.
I know, right? Well, it's like I haven't even done the week. In fact, I really need to do that tonight. I need to finish the 3rd part of the single part of the story thing because it runs out next weekend, so I need to sit down and play it tonight. But I have to find 5 people to finish it at, so that ought to be interesting. So, but yeah, I finally did that. So I'm kind of glad because now all I'll do is stories and stuff like that. I don't have to worry about, oh man, I got to do this, and oh man, I got to do that. Now it's kind of like I can just do whatever I want. I'm not too worried about grinding Athena. It's a cutthroat pirate thing, so. Because Athena's what everybody else wants too, so it's like that's Pirate Legend. So it's like, maybe I don't want Athena that much, but whatever. Nathaniel,
not that serious.
Yeah, I'm not that serious, but all right, Nathaniel. So how far have you gotten into Forbidden West? Have you beat it yet?
I haven't. I've barely played it since last time. I just put it down so I'd have something on my list. Gotcha. That's pretty much it.
What box art have I looked at this week?
Yes, there you go. Oh, hey, I saw it out of the corner of my eye as I walked through the living room. That counts.
Yeah. Hey, you'll have weeks like that though. I mean, it happens.
Yeah. It's a few things of being busy, and then also after coming off of like almost 2 months straight of playing Elden Ring almost every day, it's kind of like, all right, I can do some stuff other than video games a little bit for a while. Even though Horizon's great, but
I started Horizon Forbidden West.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and I don't know. I loved it, and I platinumed the first one, and I'm enjoying my moment to moment gameplay here as well. But like every other game I have that I've started has like taken my attention over it. Yeah. And the only thing that I can even think of with it that is that the story is just so political, and there's just so many characters that I have a hard time remembering what native sounding name is part of which native sounding faction and what was their relationship with these other 2 people. I'm just like,
I haven't had that trouble. Like I've had big gaps in between. I was like, oh, I remember that one. Part is because the design of the characters for the important ones, anyway, you recognize them. Two, you've got a glossary that tells you all the important characters and like who they are. So if you forget, you can just go there and look. But
that requires me to read, and I don't like to read in my games.
You don't even have to, dude. You don't even have to read that much. You can just be like, "Oh, this person is such and such." Got it. You don't have to read the rest.
Dialogue text. No, thank you.
Nope. Visual novels, guys. Visual novels.
Subtitles. Forget it. I'm not reading subtitles in this game.
It's funny. I can't even watch a show without subtitles on anymore.
See, that's me. That's me. Like, I used to never be like that, but over the last couple of years, especially with like me watching, just more and more foreign content and just Netflix investing so much into foreign content, that it's just like the subtitles are just so natural to me now that I need them on always. So
that's my excuse too. Not at all that I can never understand what anybody is saying over the music and the explosions. It was the other thing.
Yeah. See, and we when we bought our sound bar, it was like that. The explosions and the sound effects and the music was so much louder. I had to go into like our Fire TV and adjust the surround sound and be like, yeah, no, don't give me 5-channel this and that. Just give me stereo with this and that. And that's like, oh, I can hear the voices again. But we like a lot of the the British TV shows. So sometimes it's very hard if they have a thick accent to follow everything they're saying. So every once in a while, I turn on the subtitles just to be like, okay,
oh, John, see, that just means you need to watch more of it so that you can understand.
Well, I know. We started watching The Outlaws the other day with not Alec Baldwin, Cowbell, Christopher Walken, and it's a good show. Yeah, no, I had to remember his name. I had to say Cowbell. It was like because my mind wanted to go somewhere else, so I had to use a catchword to pull my mind back to where I wanted it to go. But yeah, it's got him and I forget the dude's name. He's one of the guys who wrote The Office, the UK version. Is in it. It's really
Ricky Gervais.
No, not Ricky Gervais. He's the tall guy. He was in Big Bang Theory. He was what's her name's boyfriend for a while. That was infatuated with Sheldon. Tall, glasses. He was in Jojo Rabbit. He was the He was the Nazi dude who the Gestapo leader for the Nazis. I can't remember his name.
I think yeah.
He's
I don't
like
know his name.
6'9". He's hilarious. I mean, he's just this tall, lanky UK guy.
That's Stephen Merchant.
That's it. Stephen Merchant. Yeah, that's his name. See,
he's so funny.
Yeah,
I love
you should have brought it back to video games and say, hey, he was that cool thing in Portal 2, the annoying personality sphere guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What is his name? I was trying to remember the name. Wheatley. Yes.
Wheatley. I had totally forgot. I totally forgot that he was in that. Yeah. See, I wasn't even thinking that way.
The only important one though is the Nolan North. I'm in space. That's what Portal 2 is. That's the best part. He's got to be in the video game, so like, all right, wait, oh crap, we didn't get Nolan North into this game. Here, come in and record. I'm in space. Go, it's good. It'll take 5 minutes.
Yeah. Here's your check. Thanks a lot. We appreciate it.
One of the most iconic moments in all of video games. I swear.
So nothing to say about Forbidden West.
I mean, I really haven't played enough past what I did the last time to really add to it. I can just be like, all right, here's my formula for why Elden Ring is better than Breath of the Wild for me, because Elden Ring made me stop playing Horizon, whereas Breath of the Wild did not make me stop playing Horizon. And I went back and forth between those games, but these ones I completely stopped playing Horizon once Elden Ring came out, and then had to go back to it.
Oh, speaking of Breath of the Wild, leave it to Stone Cold Steve Austin to
good Lord.
light up Twitter.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'd seen, I follow him. I follow him on Twitter, so he does a show on Peacock where he interviews wrestlers and stuff like that, or anybody really. And he did the top 10 questions with Cody Rhodes the other day, and the first question was, what's the best Zelda game? And Cody Rhodes said Ocarina of Time, and Stone Cold went, nope, it's Breath of the Wild. And you would never know that both of those guys are huge Zelda fans. And it's like, really? Stone Cold plays Zelda games? That's like, so weird.
Cody Rhodes, I can see to a degree, just because like you're starting to see like more like of the like current generation wrestlers sort of getting into gaming.
Yeah.
But like Stone Cold Steve Austin just spouting, just like, no man, Breath of the Wild was like, I think that blew everybody's minds. How did you just respond
I actually saw that and I rewound it and went, wait a minute, let me what? Stone Cold's been playing Breath of the Wild? And then I get into digging and get into looking, it's like, yeah, he's a huge Zelda fan. It was like, what? This is crazy.
That's crazy.
I don't. Yeah. Now I question everything in the world. Everything I'm just
that
I thought I knew.
Like, imagine him. But I'm just trying to think of like him playing the Switch in handheld mode and just how tiny that thing must look in his hands. Like, I just imagining him with the Switch, like the red and blue one, especially, just like those colors on Stone Cold Steve Austin, this big burly dude. You know.
Well, if you're doing that, just make it that he's in the wrestling ring in his full wrestling getup at the same time, just to make it even more ridiculous.
Yeah, even with his vest on and some beer, you know, sitting on a keg or whatever, you know, playing, sitting on the hood of a milk truck. I remember that one when he brought.
Probably got the Animal Crossing edition.
Oh, that would be even more hilarious. Oh my gosh.
That'd be so good. Because, like, I mean, with some of them, it makes sense, right? Because I know before the Switch came out, like, they even had a few commercials with John Cena, believe it or not. It was like him promoting the Switch. But Stone Cold Steve Austin, never in a million years, man. Never in a million years would I have assumed him, you know, playing.
And Zelda, of all games, Zelda, you know, I could see, you know, Call of Duty or something action-y or something.
Sure.
But no, I'm a big Zelda fan. Really? I've learned something new today, and I need to question life more. Apparently,
all the Korok seeds, you know, finish all the shrines. Give me a hell yeah!
Yeah, exactly. You're just standing there, sitting there playing. Hell yeah! It's like what? Oh my gosh!
Just that image. I'll never get over that image.
No,
it's too much.
No. And then the look that Cody Rhodes shot him when he went, oh, bold choice. It's like, I thought they were really going to get into a discussion here. I'm like, am I really going to see two wrestlers get into discussion about Zelda games? I don't know what's going on.
Ocarina of Time is by far not the best Zelda game anyway. Because it has not aged as well as much, almost any other of them.
Yeah, you're right.
I was always Team Wind Waker personally up until Breath of the Wild, which kind of overtook that.
Yeah. So Wind Waker is it always bounces back and forth between Wind Waker and A Link to the Past for me. I just really like Link to the Past.
A great one.
But you know, that was really the game that introduced me to Zelda because I didn't play the NES, you know, Zeldas. So you know, that leans a lot into it. But yeah, Wind Waker is really good. I hear that.
Where's our you know, Adventure of Link supporters? That's the best one. Who thinks that one? That's I want to meet that person because that'll be funny.
Yeah, I really
like, why? My favorite.
Cool.
My favorite Zelda game was 3D Dot Game Heroes. Do you guys remember that?
Oh yeah, I still have that game. Yeah, I have that.
No, I've never beat a Zelda game. I've played like almost all of them, almost to the end, and then I just never get around to finishing them. Even Ocarina of Time, like I got all the way to Ganon, and then I was like, I'm good. I don't need to finish it. I know how the story ends.
He gets tough at the end, man. Like especially with like the mechanics and like the technology at that time, where it's just like you had to be patient and have some persistence versus now where there's so much flexibility and accessibility. Now where it's just like, you know, not to say games have gotten easier, but they're just a lot more intuitive and ergonomic that there's like a sort of comfort in being able to handle those tougher bosses. Like Dark Souls only works in these current generations. If Dark Souls was an N64 game or a Super Nintendo game, no, that would have never happened. Because you look at something like what was tough at the time, like
Ghosts and Goblins,
right? Yeah, exactly.
Ghosts and Goblins,
yeah. You know, and Battletoads, which has like a 2% completion rate in the entire world. It's like it just
You can try and imagine though and play like the Bloodborne demake, and I think they've done it with one of the Souls games as well, where they make it look like it's from like the older eras, like PS1 or something.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild though was the first game in a long time that I I couldn't put it down. I played that game for 120, 130
me.
hours, and I literally played it every day. Come home from work, play it till go to bed.
Yep.
Go to work, play it till go to bed. And it's been a long time since a game really great. Probably Red Dead Redemption was the last game that really sunk its teeth into me like that, because Red Dead Redemption was like that for me. I just had to play it every night until I beat it. Luckily, I was unemployed at the time, so it was real easy to play it all the time.
It was really easy, yeah. Don't need to clock in.
Yeah, I didn't have to clock in. I'd stay up till Nikki got up and for work, get her up and get her going to work, and then go to bed, and then get up and do it all over again. It was like I was playing 8 hours a night. It was like,
Like, no, hon, I slept with you. I just got up early so I could help you.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, we did that a lot when I was unemployed, because she's a heavy sleeper, so I would stay up until time to go for her to go to work, and then I would sleep for a little while and then look for work in the afternoon. So, but yeah, so Nathaniel, anything else before we let Dennis loose, or?
Nope. That's pretty much what I got.
Hit it, Dennis. I want to know about Switch Sports. I've almost picked that game up and I didn't.
Yeah, so Switch Sports is a lot of fun.
Is it like Wii Sports, but on the Switch, like it looks, or is it?
That's a pretty good judgment to make. Yeah, no, it is basically that. Now, however, compared to Wii Sports or even Wii Sports Resort, you don't have anywhere near as much content, right? Now, you do have the base game there, and you do have what you would expect from a Nintendo Switch Sports, similar to a Wii Sports, where it's like, here's a selection of sports, go play it, have fun. And then you're using motion controls because that's heavily emphasized in a game like this, right?
Yeah.
But Nintendo Switch Sports, compared to Wii Sports, or especially Wii Sports Resort, only has, at the moment, 6 sports, which is the sports are volleyball, badminton, soccer, bowling, tennis, and Shambara, I believe is what the last one is, which is kind of like fencing, sort of, if you're not familiar with Shambara. And that's the one that I played the least, was Shambara. The one I couldn't put down was soccer. Like, soccer and bowling, I already knew I was going to have fun with bowling,
right.
But soccer was interesting how they did it this time around, because it wasn't like what you would expect of just like, just kick a ball and then that's basically it,
Yeah.
or just wave the stick and and then you'll try to hit just like a like a half court shot, basically,
Right.
But now you can play the game like it's recommended with 2 Joy-Con. I don't think you can play it with just 1. So it feels like a normal game. It's not one that like overemphasizes the motion controls like the rest do. Now, you still have to use them if you want to kick the ball or do certain techniques, like whether it's a nosedive or just a aerial kick, bicycle kick, downwards kick, so on and so forth. But yeah, I mean, you just play the game like you would a normal soccer game, and it's like so much fun. And the ball's really big. It's kind of reminiscent of, kind of akin to how Rocket League is, and in a weird way, I don't want to say it plays similarly, because obviously one's a car, the other one's a person. But you do kind of have that similar sort of foundation and mindset put in place of, like, move. You have a button to boost, in this case run, right? And then you just kind of kick the ball, and that's essentially it. There's not crazy mechanics. I mean, you can pass it to people, but no one does that.
I wish there was mods on the Switch, because I want to see them make it more like Rocket League, so you could be like flying through the air somehow, but it's people. That would be so ridiculous and awesome.
I would love that. Yeah, give them jetpacks. That's it. We're good to go.
Jetpacks or flatulence.
Yes.
Flatulence. That would be great.
Just a bunch of Warriors just running around. And
oh god!
See, it's already built into the Nintendo ecosystem.
Right. But yeah, and like the goals are super big, and it's kind of reminiscent of Lucio Ball as well, for people who are familiar with Overwatch, where again, you do have is it 4v4? It's 4v4, and yeah, it's just this big ball kind of being thrown around, and but no specials or anything like that. You just run, and then the stamina runs off really quick. So you don't really run for long, and then like way it sort of replenishes is so much slower than your usage. So like you kind of have to be very, I don't want to say strategic. It's not like you have to be smart when you play this game, but like you just have to be very mindful, anyways, of how you want to use your stamina because you will have to wait a while in order to run again. And then if you overuse it, then you'll just be exhausted. You'll start sweating, and then you can barely even walk at that point, and then you're useless at that point to your team. So. But it's so much fun. I love the soccer mode. There's not much to do outside of actually play the games, unfortunately. I think that's my biggest gripe with it is outside of getting collectibles, which are great, because I personally love the new Miis, like the Mi 2.0s. I'm just going to call them that. I don't know what their official name is. But the Mi 2.0s, those, they're great. I think they look amazing. They're super cute, and like the way you can customize them is really great. However, in terms of detail, even though Mii's, the original Mii's that we've known for so many years now, aren't anywhere near as detailed, they're a lot more customizable, right? So, I mean, you used to see people, especially on the 3DS and Wii U days, when you can just, scan a QR code. People used to make characters of anyone and everything, that you could just download. Now with these Mi 2.0s, you only have a set amount of hairstyles. You only have a set amount of sort of customization, set amount of shirts, set amount of pants, set amount of did I say hairstyles already? Hairstyles and hats and and things like that. And you just can't really do much. You can't like sort of change the way your face looks really. You can't change the way, the width of your eyes or, the length of your nose or anything like that. It's very much like here's 3 preset templates, take it or leave it. And then your customization, any customization you're going to be doing isn't so much features for the body, but just purely aesthetic. It's just apparel. That's where the customization comes in. But even that is lacking in a lot of regards. So everyone kind of looks the same, when you're online, and you just see a lot of doppelgangers. And even when you think you're doing something unique, you just see a lot of people that kind of look alike. And yeah, but that you just unlock cosmetics as you gain levels. But these cosmetics, there is a cap to how many you can unlock because what they do is they have a store that sort of refreshes. Now you don't use premium currency, you just use in-game sort of points, if you will. After every 100 points, you get a gift box, and then you can open that gift box, and it'll randomly give you what's being offered in the store. Right now, there's 2 different sets. There's like a cute set, and then just like a fashionable set, or something like that. And yeah, within that day, if not the following day, we unlocked everything. My girlfriend and I. So like, and mind you, these sets are in the store for I think one of them said it was at the time 10 days, and then the other one was 17 days. So they're there for a while. If you're unlocking them within the first couple hours of you booting up that game, it's like, then you really have nothing to do because you don't get medals anymore. There is no bronze, gold, silver medal anymore. There's not time trials. There's not anything like that. There's no sort of competitive nature to this game that makes you want to, that incentivizes you to sort of, not necessarily push yourself, but, keep going back and kind of give more emphasis to the competitive nature of the game. It's almost too casual. I like casual. I was having an amazing time with the game. But it almost gets too casual to the point where it's like it feels sort of shallow, for lack of a better word, and
it's weird.
I kind of expected them to have some sort of like health aspect to it since they've dabbled in that as well.
Right, that's
like
what I thought,
why not combine the two together and create this,
right.
Full package?
Yeah, especially with the success of Ring Fit Adventure, you can easily capitalize on that and sort of duplicate that success with Nintendo Switch Sports. But I mean, they already sold a bunch of copies from what I've seen from early numbers and stuff like that. So I mean, clearly, to them, it's going to be a success. But
you think it's like a COVID thing where they just didn't have time to implement a bunch of stuff and they just kind of put out because they wanted to hit a schedule and not have it delayed or something?
Yes and no. I think there's this new mindset now of like, I think Nintendo doesn't want to replicate what happened with the Wii U, which the biggest problem with the Wii U, it had nothing to do with the hardware. Had everything to do with software, right? And even Nintendo's own first party releases, never mind third party, Nintendo's own first party releases, there were such huge droughts between every single release, right?
Right.
Mario 3D World would come out, 6, 7, 8 months would pass by before another Nintendo published
Right.
title came out, right? So you had to rely on everything in between, the third parties in between. But even then, they weren't really outputting much because of the, you know, the lack of sales and just the lack of belief of the Wii U, right? So, and yeah, I mean, it was just a troubling time. So, I think rather than, even though there were great games on the Wii U, and pretty much that entire library at this point has been ported over to the Switch, to give everything sort of second life, and deservingly so, because again, there's a lot of great games. Um, I think there's a new sort of belief that Nintendo has, where it's just like, if we can get a game to a state where it is playable and enjoyable, um, for longer than a set amount of hours, let's go ahead and put it out. It's bug free. It's pretty much done and can be sold as is, but we do want to add more content. So I think in the case of Nintendo Switch Sports, rather than have it come out, let's just say in August, they're like, look, it's April, or it was April when it came out. Let's go ahead and get this out, because they do have a roadmap planned for it. You know, versus, you know, Wii Sports, where it was just like, here it is, tons of
Right.
content,
Yeah.
have fun with it. It's packed in with all your Wiis also. And even when Wii Sports Resort came out, huge amount of content in there. And just an incredible game. So I think right now it's just like, you know, let's get it out. We have stuff here that'll keep people busy. But even though it's not everything that we want to put in here, I think what we see right now with Nintendo Switch Sports is probably 70-75% of what I think they really want to do with it. Because later down the line, in a couple of months, we're going to get golf, right? I know a couple of the current games are going to get enhancements, and then we probably will see those time trials and things like that, right? So, and of course, you're going to get more customization items and things like that. So I think they're going to try to turn this into a sort of live service game. And, you know, to be fair, I think it would be more problematic if this game was being sold for $60. Thankfully, that wasn't the case. It was $40 digitally anyways. If you get it physically, it comes with the leg strap, so that's an additional $10 tacked onto it, so it's $50 for a physical copy. But you don't really have to worry about that if you had Ring Fit Adventure prior to that, like me. So, because that comes with their leg strap anyways, so
Right.
you know, then you just have to pay $40 and you're good to go. And even then, they're sold separately and they're not hard to find. And I'm sure there's a bunch of third-party leg straps anyways. You probably get for even cheaper, $3, $4, $5.
Called
So,
roll of duct tape.
Yeah, rubber band.
That's right.
Rubber
That's
band. Elastic strap.
That's right. So,
Industrial
yeah.
stapler.
Well, you know, that's what a lot of companies are going through right now. You look at, especially like Xbox, you know, they, November was Forza, you know, December was Halo, and then it's been nothing first party, with hardly any even announcements of, you know, what's going on. And Sony had, what was it, Horizon in February, and it's kind of been quiet there too. So, you know, it's kind of like, I get the, you know, we got a bam, 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 bam. You know, that first year of Switch was like that. It was like every freaking month.
Yeah, it was crazy. Every month was something
game
new.
was coming out, you know, and it was like, I don't even have time to finish this because now this is coming out, and I'll buy it and I won't play it because I just want it, you know, but yeah, it just seems, it sounds like you're probably right with the sports. You know, it's just weird how some of the things that you would expect to be in there is not there.
It just kind of feels like early access at the moment, but like, it's really good though. Again, it's really good. I'm not hating on the game. I love the game, you know, and like, and it's so much fun. And I mean, I was so sore after that first couple of days of playing it. So clearly it's, you know, it's got me active, you know, but but yeah, I mean, but when you compare it to something like Ring Fit Adventure, I personally had so much more fun with Ring Fit Adventure, and it just felt like such a complete, unique experience. Versus Nintendo Switch Sports almost feels like deja vu, but something that is almost taken advantage of, right? Of just like, hey, let's take advantage. You know, we want to go back. We want to, you know, go back to those golden days of Wii Sports. Let's kind of do that again, but in the modern day, which is all fine and dandy. But again,
there's a whole new set of grandmas. How are we going to sell them a Switch?
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Exactly.
I wonder how many Switches this will. So you're not wrong. You know, it's. I mean, you know, because they were sticking Wii U's in nursing homes. You know, using Wii Sports, and there's still nursing homes that use Wii Sports to this day. You know, so it's like, you know, it's not out of the realm of possibility that, hey, you know, they'll start selling more consoles to places that they may not sell it before.
Look, if there's a demographic that you can tap into,
Mm-hmm.
they'll do it. You know, it's if it makes sense. So,
right.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, like for $40, I mean, I mean, again, do I think it's worth the $40? Yeah, absolutely. Now, if it was $60, that's when we would start having a different conversation, right? That's when it would be like, what if this was $10 per minigame at this point? You know, because this is ridiculous.
Right.
And at that point, you may as well just sell it separately, kind of like what they did with what was it? Well, was it Wii Sports Resort? They did something on the Wii U.
It was Wii Sports Resort.
Was it? Okay, yeah. I can't remember, but I remember.
And you could buy the physical disc, and it would have a compilation, I think, of some of them on there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but if you got it digitally, you could actually just pick and choose which ones you wanted. For a set price. Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. So like it's and it made sense for that at the time. But again, for $40. I think it's good. I like it a lot. It's a lot of fun. It has a lot of replay value. The bowling, especially, I love it. It's hard to get bored of.
How do you do the bowling? I think the bowling would be worse than Wii Sports for me, just because of the Wii Remote being something a little bit bigger, and just the configuration of it with the way the trigger works. It just was so super awesome for bowling that like. Imagining doing it with the tinier, stuff now, just like it wouldn't feel the same. Still be fun though. Yeah.
No, yeah. It works. I mean, it worked for me. There was more of, I think, a natural comfort to the Wiimote. You're right, but again, the control scheme is the same. You're going to hold the trigger to kind of before you let go of it. And yeah,
are they selling any of those like plastic add-ons for the Switch Joy-Cons?
Like the tennis rackets,
the tennis racket. Yeah.
As far as I know,
they probably will. I mean,
can we get a plastic bowling ball that you put that into? And
at the very least, somebody will 3D print those. I'm sure.
Yeah, well, they do exist because I remember like we used to sell them at GameStop, but I can't remember why the reason was. Like what was out at the time that utilized something like that. It might have just been Mario Tennis Aces, and I think probably just using the motion controls for something like that.
I think it was just a variety. Like it came with add-ons for like baseball and tennis. And,
yeah, I remember.
And so those were all Wii Sports games, because there was even like the golfing one, right?
And the baseball bat. And
the baseball bat.
Because we bought a Wii, a whole Wii set, and it came with those Nerf things.
And those things were so gross. So they'd come through GameStop and they just have like kid gross all over them.
Yeah, just had kid dirt. Yeah, you're absolutely
like a lot of the time they originally, I'm pretty sure when they're sold, they're typically white, but when you would get them, they
came in white. I thought they came in multicolored crayon and yellow.
From what I've heard, I can't confirm it. But just from what I've seen in the scriptures, yeah. That's
I've seen all of the Crayola 42, right?
Every tone, every hex code, all of it.
That's right.
But yeah,
16 million colors.
Oh yeah, this is FF000. Yeah, no, of course I know this one. Yeah,
this is my favorite shade of green.
But yeah, like but those peripherals like do exist for the Joy-Con, but you don't really need them for Nintendo Switch Sports. I think everything feels just right, and yeah, the Joy-Con are smaller, but they fit. What am I trying to say? They fit in the palm of my hand.
Yeah.
So you kind of have naturally a better grip to it versus the sort of lengthiness and the weight of a Wiimote. That's why people were just tossing them all the time.
Yeah, I was like, how are you going to break a TV that way? Come on, we need more heft.
No, they include the strap now. You can't sue them.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true. Yeah,
right. But I did see a video where somebody did break their TV day one.
That's true. They did. But they launched. I mean, assuming we saw the same video, they launched that thing.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
It was. It was at a speed. It was supersonic speed. It was crazy.
Good grief.
Give that person a baseball and see what they can do.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a great game. I mean, honestly, I do recommend picking it up in the future. If if there's nothing else at the moment that you're playing, or nothing in the immediate future you think you're going to be picking up, it's definitely worth picking up to to play with your significant other. But even if you're just playing alone, like it's great because the online mode is just a lot of fun, and it's really well balanced too. So far from my experience, I can't speak for everybody obviously, but from my experience, it's pretty well balanced, and I have a great time. So and for $40. It's great.
Yeah.
For $60 would have been a much different story, and I think I would have been equally as upset even for $50 if I bought it physically, But we got it digitally, which again $40 is a reasonable price for it. So, and again, you don't need the leg strap because nothing uses it at the moment. That's the part that kills me. Here's a physical copy of a game with a peripheral that you cannot use yet because the leg strap is part of a future update that soccer's going to get, so you can start doing some little kickoff mode that utilizes that. Otherwise, at the moment, you don't need it. You don't need it at all. So why buy? Just get it digitally. Do yourself a favor, just get it digitally. Plus, it's a great drop in, drop out type of game, right? So like, even if you only want to play for 10 minutes, like that's going to be a pain to just constantly switch those cartridges all the time. So like, I think it's a great digital game to me personally. But yeah, and then considering, again, physically, you get a peripheral that is absolutely worthless to you right now. Assuming you don't have, Ring Fit Adventure, which you can use that for that. But otherwise, if it's solely for Nintendo Switch Sports, it's not going to serve you any good at the moment. But yeah, we were talking about Bugsnax earlier. Now, here's the thing: everyone seems to sort of reflect what Robert was saying earlier, right? The enthusiasm for it and stuff like that. I'm kind of on the flip side. Since it came to Game Pass, I've been playing it a little bit. I liked the bit that I played, and I thought it was cute. However, I don't know if I just wasn't playing it right, or maybe I was expecting something different, but I couldn't 100% click with it, and I think I just found it annoying to. Because Rob, you said it was sort of similar to Pokemon, and I can see it in terms of like the design of these creatures and how they repeat their names over and over again. But I, it felt more like a really slow, boring version of like I felt like a ranger, like Pokemon Ranger even, where I had to sit down, put the traps down. Now, I noticed the wheel had a lot of empty spots. Is there more to it later down the line that gives you more flexibility, that opens the game up more?
Capturing them can get very complicated, especially if you only have one or two items. So, I mean, I don't know if you care if I spoil what some of these items are. I mean, there's what do you have so far? So I don't go over it.
Yeah, I mean, you can.
Well, you got your net, right? You got your net that you can just hit. Well, for me, square, and it catches them. And then you have your trap that you deploy, and that if they walk into it, you can catch them.
Right.
So then you're going to get.
Yep,
you have the slingshot, right? So with the slingshot, there is I don't know, like 7 or 8 different condiments that you're going to be able to utilize, and if you use your camera on each of these and you snap each of them, you'll see like, Bunger likes ketchup, right? So how do I catch a Bunger? He just gets angry at me and like charges me. Well, there's another Bunger here. What if I shoot Bunger with ketchup? And then the other Bunger's like, oh hell yeah, let me go get me some ketchup, and he like charges the other Bunger, right? And so then you can catch that Bunger,
right?
So that there's also this like suction cup gun that you will be able to shoot on things. You attach to a surface, you shoot onto another thing, and this thing can be used in a multitude of different ways. You can just use the string that it deploys as like a tight or as a clothesline, so to speak, where this Bunger is now charging at me, but he's going to hit this clothesline and it's going to knock his ass out, right? And so then you can run up and you can catch him. Well, maybe it's I almost said Pokemon. Maybe it's a Bugsnax that that is too strong for this clothesline, but I don't know. He's weak to fire. Well, I can take this suction cup gun. I can connected to this rock, and I can shoot the other end to this torch, and now it catches the clothesline on fire. So now I can lure this other dude over here who's weak to fire. So there's all kinds of different combinations of these tools that you can use. There's a spring-loaded platform that you can launch things. Now, whether you're launching yourself or maybe another item, you get a captured strabby, which is like the little strawberry with eyes. In this like sphere that you can use a laser pointer on your watch to navigate this sphere around, which is going to be used for different puzzles to unlock areas, or there are some Bugsnax that hide in tunnels that you can't see or get to. Oh, you chase them out with this little strabby and a ball. What else is there? I'm blanking now.
I mean, basically, once you get past the first part, it's pretty straightforward. But once you get past, like, here's some of the basics, once you get a few more tools, it's a lot more of just a puzzle game, almost.
Yeah, I see this
thing, how do I get it?
Exactly. Yeah. Every capture that you get after that first area or first and a half area of the game, there is going to be some sort of puzzle to it. For the just because it's in my mind and I don't remember all the early stages that well, but with like the latest area in the game, there was this creature, this bug stack that I didn't even know was there until I got this massive egg that I used my grappling gun to pull over to this massive like egg cracker. It's like got a spoon on it and it goes whack and it like breaks this egg open. And now comes this like flaming tikka masala bird thing. And it's always on fire. And it's like, well, how do I get this flaming dude who's in the sky? He's too big for me to get. So, like I was saying earlier, you got to make them small. So you got to find whatever the nearest shrink spice is to shrink him in combination with luring him out of his path. And the path of each of the Bugsnax is revealed by taking the picture of it. Again, it'll then show like a purple trail that you can see what their normal path is. And it's like, okay, well, he likes, I don't know, hot sauce or something, right? And I'm going to shoot this tree over here that's near this frozen mochi worm, right? And as their path gets close enough, he's lured over, and the mochi attacks it and freezes it. So now he's no longer on fire. I use my shrink spice. I go on there while he's in his like daze, and I capture him. Maybe I planted a trap there because I don't want that mochi to get mad at me and come after me instead. He falls into the trap. I deploy my trap, and we get him. And that's just one thing. I still don't know how to catch the mochi. Like I got the tikka masala bird, but I don't know how to catch the mochi yet. And it's just it's a whole different thing for everyone. And you start looking around and you're like, oh, I got the flaming torch over here. What can I do with this? What can it attach to? Do I need to propel myself up to here or use my strabby ball? What can I grapple? And it's just really, it really opens up to see how creative you can be. And that's why I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to give it more of a chance. I think I probably just started it at a bad time, probably because to lead on to my next game, I started playing Trek to Yomi, and my God, I love this game.
It looks really pretty.
Awesome.
I have it downloaded too. I have not yet played it yet. I haven't booted up the Xbox this weekend.
Yeah, it's been tough to put down. Thank God it came to Game Pass. But honestly, even if it didn't, it was probably a game that I was probably going to buy.
Yeah, it looked like one that
after release, anyways. Yeah. But since it's on Game Pass, obviously I've been playing it through there. And man, if you loved Ghost of Tsushima, this game is almost even more authentic, I would say, than Ghost of Tsushima, just in terms of like culture and time period and stuff like that.
I was like, I'm not sure how authentic Ghost of Tsushima is, but
right.
But does it let me show my butt when I get out of the hot springs?
No, unfortunately not.
That's it. I'm out. I'm not even booting it up.
Not even interested.
You lost my interest.
Yeah, that's why it's not exclusive, unfortunately. But yeah, no. Trek to Yomi is such an interesting, unique game, and it's weird to say I've played games like this before because in a way I sort of haven't, because it takes the formula of what we know of a linear sort of side scroller, something that we would see in games, the more famous ones being stuff like, Limbo and Inside, Little Nightmares, stuff like that, where you're going just from point A to point Z in just one linear path.
Right.
That's what you're doing here. However, there are a lot of areas in which you have full 3D movement. You can go, there's not only, I mean, there's an X, Y, and a Z axis, right? So like you have full 3D motion, but when you're actually in the battles, those are in side-scrolling fashion. And there's a lot that's sort of reminiscent to the iconic sort of hallway scene from Old Boy, right? Like you have a lot of people coming at you, and you just kind of have to keep going back and forth, with your katana, just basically slaughtering these people. And the entire game is in black and white. As far as I know, I don't know if after you beat the game, maybe there's a color mode, or if there's going to be a patch later down the line that allows a color mode. But it is very much entirely in black and white, kind of reminiscent to older, those old sort of samurai films. We're talking from the 1930s and 40s, right? What's one of them? Seven
Samurai.
Seven Samurai, thank you. Yeah, stuff like that, and probably most famously Seven Samurai. And yeah, it's stunning. It's a beautiful, beautiful game. I mean, it's you have collectibles that are kind of scattered everywhere, which kind of incentivize you to go and explore. But man, every camera angle is fixed, right? So you kind of have that old school sense to it, where you have those fixed camera angles, and they do follow you sometimes. But otherwise, it is going to kind of be reminiscent of like those old PS1 titles, stuff like Resident Evil, Parasite Eve, Silent Hill, so on and so forth, where you have those fixed camera angles every time you enter a new area. But every angle is like just this amazing piece of cinematography, because the game even presents itself like a film, right? You have the black bars, it's done in like a 21:9 sort of ratio, and it is just everything about it is just, I mean, just truly stunning. I mean, I've taken so many photos at this point, like it's insane.
Yeah, I saw your tweet.
It's insane. Yeah, like, and I have more to follow up with those tweets, believe me, but like it's, but like for a game that doesn't have a photo mode, it's like, my God, like I can just hit that screenshot button at almost any time and just have, bam, just a beautiful shot right there.
Yeah.
It is, I can't recommend this game enough if you're a fan of side-scrolling games and narrative-driven games and
those are my favorite
adventure games like those. Yeah. Yeah,
I almost just bought it on the Steam Deck the other day. It was like I might end up wanting to play it more on the Steam Deck than on Xbox.
It's worth it. It's worth it, honestly. Yeah. It's fantastic, and that's what's really been taking up my time over these last couple of days. Is Trek to Yomi. I was excited for that one for a while, but like, and then it kind of like they announced it a while back, and then you just kind of didn't hear about it for a bit. But then like days leading up to its release, especially with it coming out on Game Pass, Xbox, promoting it like crazy, and then Devolver Digital, of course, who published it. And I was just like, that's right. I remember you.
Yeah,
I remember you.
Oh, well,
I'm gonna get you downloaded.
It was on that State of Play, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember that game's coming to Game Pass."
Yeah.
Sony put it on the State of Play. Oh yeah, that's coming to Game Pass. I forgot about that.
And they're over here, like the way they chose their words wisely, making it seem like it's exclusive. Get out of here! Yeah, you're gonna be on Game Pass, man. Come on, I'm gonna download you there. Like, but yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, I really can't recommend this game enough. I mean, I think it's normally $20 too.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the normal MSRP for it. Yeah. Like, my God, what an incredible $20 to spend on this game. Mm-hmm. Like, my God. And then if you have Game Pass, it'll be 20% off anyways, because it's 20% off of any game that's on Game Pass. So then you can get it for $16. My God, just buy it. Just buy it. It's great. Yeah. I can't recommend this game enough. It's so good, and the game is split up into chapters, and the cinematics are really, really great, and all the angles, I'm telling you, because like if you're thinking it's just going to be side scroller the whole time, it is not. Okay. Like again, it's side scroller for one section, then maybe the camera angle will change, then you'll have that full 3D motion, and then maybe a cinematic will hit, and then you'll go into like right there in front of your face or over the shoulder or stuff like that. Like, oh man, it's so dynamic. The art direction and just the creative direction of it's fantastic. I mean, it's just I can't recommend it enough. I mean, after we're done with this podcast, I'm probably going to go and keep playing that. I put a couple hours into it. I don't know how many chapters it has. I'm about to finish chapter 4 at the moment, But it feels like it's kind of slowly but surely getting to that peak. So it
I
doesn't
don't
seem like
think
it's
it's
too
real
long.
long. Because I've seen
Yeah.
some people that like finished it like the very next day after it came out. So,
Oh, okay, yeah. Which is great, honestly, just because like for a game like this, like the pacing is fantastic. So like, it's not a game that, needs to be long. Like do what you need to do and do it great, and then just call it a day.
yeah.
Because I rather have a short, amazing game that doesn't overstay its welcome versus like this big, gigantic 100+ hour game that's like mediocre. I don't need that. I don't need that. But yeah, no, I mean the game is absolutely fantastic, and the presentation of it all is
Okay.
is just jaw dropping.
Looks
Honestly.
like the main story takes about 5 hours.
Okay.
5 hours and 40 minutes. It says leisurely. Usually the average was 4 hours and 51. If you do the
Okay.
extras, it boots it somewhere between 6 and 7. If you fully
Okay.
complete it, it's like 8 hours. So
Okay, cool. Yeah, because there's collectibles, and each chapter has a set amount of collectibles, and it tells you like which collectibles you've gotten. So, but I don't know. Again, I still haven't beaten the game yet. But I don't know. Hopefully, there's going to be after you're done with it, not only a chapter select, but more of like an area select too. Just because, um, a lot of these chapters, I've actually all of them. I've only missed one collectible so far, so I've gotten them all. I've done pretty well at. I'm pretty good about exploring and stuff like that because I'm always curious. But the fact that I've missed one in every chapter so far is driving me crazy. So like I want to go back, but I don't want to have to go and do the whole chapter over again because some of these chapters
right,
are long. And then some, I just don't want to have to do some of these battles again because some of those battles were sort of lengthy as well because they can get hard. Now over time, if you're exploring, if you go through the whole game without exploring, then you're probably going to be with the set amount of health and the same set amount of health and stamina the entire time. But if you're exploring, you're going to be doing yourself a big benefit because you'll get health upgrades and stamina upgrades, and you're going to need those health upgrades and stamina upgrades like crazy. That way you can swing more, run more, and take more hits because the further you get down, the enemies themselves don't necessarily get harder, but there's more of them, right? So like it kind of becomes a numbers game at that point. You gotta play it very smart. Like you can't just start hacking and slashing away, right? Like you need to block. You will be forced to block, or you will not do anything. You need to parry, and if you don't parry, then that's gonna be too bad for you because they're literally gonna be slashing away. Because usually when they slash, they get priority over you. So, it's almost the game's almost in a way forcing you to learn how to block.
right.
But I like that though because it's more methodical and it makes you sort of more into the shoes of of the side that you're playing as and
Right.
not just going in and slashing away, being this godlike character. Like you are going in there with honor and just taking enemies out one by one. You and your blade. Very in a very like sophisticated and uh, um, just
Methodical.
yeah, methodical way, right? So yeah, but yeah, I can't recommend it enough. Trek to Yomi, fantastic. It's definitely one of those chef's kiss games,
Yeah.
and I can't recommend it enough. I think this is one of the best games to come out in the probably in the last couple of months. Um, Definitely one of the best games to come out lately on Game Pass. And depending on how the rest of the year goes, we'll see. Because it might, when we
Yeah.
have our top 10, will it be there? Maybe. We'll see.
Could be. Yeah.
We'll see. But yeah. So in addition to that, I've been playing Gray Skies, which is a sort of game that has its universe take place in War of the Worlds, right?
Mm.
So
Mhm.
and it's an interesting game. I think I'm almost at the end right now. I was playing a little bit actually before we got on the podcast here, and I've been playing it on the Switch. Not the prettiest game on the Switch. Like if you see what it really looks like the game's actually like I mean it's not gonna blow you away, but the game actually like looks good. It looks crisp. It looks clean. But on the Switch, it could, it could use some work. But the game runs great, and that's the most important part, right? Where it's just like here's a game that finally like it doesn't look too bad, but you can see that there's a big difference. And but most importantly, it runs great. Like it doesn't, you don't get frame drops really, at least not in my experience. You don't really chug too much, and it works for the type of game that it is. It's not 60 frames, but you do get a solid 30, and but you don't need 60 for a game like this. And but yeah, it just takes place in War of the Worlds. It's a story that takes sort of the timeline is sort of shortly after uh, the basically all those crazy alien robots, whatever, like show up. And you play as a character that survives a plane crash. And yeah, and then basically since you're so disoriented the whole game, you're just like, what in the world, like, just happened? Because your plane crashed because of all of this happening. And then yeah, and the game, in a weird way, it has its problems, right? If you look it up on Steam, the reviews aren't the best. They're not the worst, but they're not the best. And a big part of that, I think, comes down to a lack of polish and just an extreme amount of jank that it has, because there is a lot of collision detection issues. I'll be running, especially like this one segment I just did earlier where I had to run away from one of the big robots, the tripods, and they I kept getting hit no matter what, no matter what, no matter if I was taking cover or whatever. And then every time I tried to move, I was hitting something invisible. I don't know what I was hitting, but like it could have been a leaf. I don't know, but a leaf was enough to stop me dead in my tracks, and it was too much. And but after a couple of tries, I was finally able to get through it. But there's a lot of collision detection issues when you're going upstairs, and you just randomly stop all the time, like just constantly just coming to a standstill. And I'm like, it drives me crazy. But the atmosphere is really really great. The music is fantastic. It really set the tone for everything. The exploration moments are what I like the most. I'm not too crazy for the stealth or the combat. The combat, I use that term loosely because there's not really combat. You're not going to be defending yourself. You don't have a gun or anything like that. You can't go up behind people and chokehold them. But you get these random sort of, they call themselves the controlled, and that sort of like lightning bolt their way down like Thor, and you can put traps down. You can throw a water jar, and then that'll break. And then you can take this like little electrical sort of bomb that you have, throw it down, and it'll create this sort of electrical pit. So when they walk into it, they die, right? So you can do stuff like that. But honestly, like a lot of that stuff is sort of pointless, and because you can just run past everybody. But even when you can't, um, there again, because of the collision detection, it becomes a problem because it's easy to get stuck in a corner, especially if they've got you cornered because you can't run past them. You can't, even if you feel like you have enough room to just sort of like, kind of squeeze by, that's not happening. It's just like a brick wall if someone's in front of you, and then you just have to take it. That's it until you die, and then you restart at the last checkpoint. The checkpoints, by the way, which are not the most forgiving, sometimes you have to restart entire areas, and I'm talking like after. So do I. So do I. But honestly, like looking back on it, you can probably go through the whole game without dying, except for that one part where you're running away from the tripod. That no, you will die there, because that part's just broken. But other than that, like you can probably get through the whole game without dying. Um, but it's, I think if this was from a studio, because this is such a great idea, and they just missed the mark. Again, there's a lot of issues with it, and you can tell it just kind of came down to like budget issues, um, and probably just manpower and time as well. But their heart's in the right place, I think, in this game, and the atmosphere is good. I just wish we saw more of the robots because I'm a couple hours into this game, and I've seen maybe two the entire time. Otherwise, it just kind of feels like a really like cheap ripoff of like The Last of Us. You're gonna be, you know, crouching a lot, going around corners. You got your backpack, which you're going to be holding a lot of crafting materials in because you can craft what I was talking about earlier, the water jars and the explosives and the electricity and the flashbangs and stuff like that. And then you can upgrade your stuff and your personal sort of passive abilities at these first aid tents. And over there, you can not only unlock new things to craft, and there's not much, there's like maybe 5 things, so they don't overwhelm you with stuff. but there's two categories. You can have things to craft, and then upgrade um, things on your person. So not only your health, but you can upgrade the amount of items you can carry, right? So let's just say you can only craft up to 3 items at once. Once you do that first upgrade, you can craft up to 8, or 10, so on and so forth. And then you have a focus ability, kind of similar to Tomb Raider or Last of Us, right, where you can crouch and kind of see through walls, sort of. If you hear something, you can kind of see a silhouette of uh, of an enemy. And then upgrading that, you can increase the distance at which you are able to focus, and so on and so forth. So, but again, there's maybe like 5 or 6 in each category, and then that's it. There is a new game plus, so chances are you won't unlock everything on the first run. You will have to play new game plus, and how you unlock everything is basically you get these things called red weed extracts, and you use those to upgrade whatever it is you want to upgrade. So. But their heart's in the right place, and honestly, I'm liking the game so far. Even though you can tell it's definitely just a low budget project. If I think I do wish we had more games like this, not in the way that it's played because we have a bunch of games like this, but more games like this in terms of like I guess I would like to see more book adaptations or just universal adaptations of just like. Because War of the Worlds has been around. When did the first one? Like, never mind the Tom Cruise one. The original one came out. The film came out in what? 1950, 1955? Like
something
a long
like
time
that.
ago. Yeah,
I was gonna say, I was like, are you going back to the actual like novel?
Yeah, I was gonna
like,
say, are you
even
going
the
back to the
novel.
novel, or are you going back
Yeah.
to the novel? And there was even it was on the radio before the movie was, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
A
So
radio
like,
drama.
yeah.
So
hmm
I'm trying to look
So-
here, and all it brings me up is the War of the Worlds 2005. I'm like, nope, that's
Yeah,
not
no,
the
not the
one.
Tom Cruise one. Yeah, not that one.
Okay, the original broadcast of Orson Welles' dramatization was October 30th, 1938.
Wow, 1938. That's crazy. Jesus.
Yeah.
My God, that's crazy. But yeah, that I love that universe. Honestly, I don't know what it is. There's just something about. I mean, I'm just a big fan of sci-fi in general, right? So maybe I'm a little biased, but the War of the Worlds has always been sort of like unique compared to other sort of takes on sci-fi and the extraterrestrial things and stuff like that, and the narrative and how people survive in those circumstances. And
Off on the
again,
aliens and they win.
right. And again, I think their heart's in the right place with this game. It's just there's a little too much focus on the enemies. I wish there was more focus on the exploration. I mean, like, there's a nice balance because, like, you do when you're going from chapter to chapter, area to area, you do have the area, like a massive area in which you're going to explore and just kind of look for items or look for keys and do like sort of very tiny, subtle puzzles to sort of progress. But then you will have those stealth sections, right, that you're forced to do. Or me, the last hour before we got on the podcast, I just stopped caring. I just started running. I don't care if you see me. I don't care if you see me. Like I'm done stealthing because you walk really slow. That's the problem with this game. Also, is you walk really really slow. The sprint isn't too bad, but you walk really really slow. And sometimes I'm just like, man, you know what? Like I'm done with this area. Like I just wanna move on. So.
You know, in the original, the first novel, I did not realize this. War of the Worlds is a science fiction
end of the
novel,
1800s, right?
1897,
like right before 1900. Yeah.
I didn't realize
God.
that. My grandmother, my father's mother, was born in 1899. It's like, wait a minute, what? This book?
That's crazy.
It doesn't.
It's been around a long time.
Yeah, I knew it'd been around a long time. I did not realize it had been around that long. I thought it was 1930s. I didn't realize it was like still the 1800s. Late 1800s when it was written. Okay,
that's insane. Yeah, I would have never thought it went back that far. Like early 1900s. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah,
but late, what 1890?
1897.
97.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I just learned something new today.
Yeah, well, we probably all did. My God, that's insane.
Yeah,
that's insane. But it also shows, I think, the reason why stories like that and literary arts like that sort of stand the test of time is because they mean something, and they kind of open your eyes to something like that. And it's a wonder why we in the case of War of the Worlds being as known as it is, even if people just know the Tom Cruise movie, it's a wonder why we haven't gotten more that takes advantage of everything there, the tripods and that universe and the zapping of the people, and stuff like that. And it's like there's so much to do with the content that's there, and you just don't ever see that. So I'm glad this game exists. But it being an indie game isn't the problem. It was just the fact that there's, I think, probably just a lack of manpower and a lack of budget that caused a lot of sort of jankiness with the game. And there's even a part, it was really funny. There's a part where you're in this hotel, and when you go into the pool area, when I walked into the pool area, there's a sign. Actually, I tweeted about it, actually. I posted a photo of the sign. It said, please do not swim. And I didn't think much of it. I was like, oh, okay, it's just a please do not swim sign because it's probably closed. The pool's closed. But then under it, it said, there's not an animation for it. and that made me laugh.
Please do not swim because there's not an animation for it. Yeah, that's pretty good.
So I liked that. So I kind of liked that they were sort of like self-aware in that regard. But again, the atmosphere is great. I really love the exploration parts of it. And the game, for the most part, is well paced. It's not too long of a game. Again, I only put a few hours into it. I see people beating it in like an hour and a half. I'm spending a little bit longer because I am trying to get every single little thing. I can't help myself. I like to explore. But yeah, that's it's I'm liking it so far. And again, it runs well on the Switch. It doesn't look the best, but so long as it runs well, I'm happy. And the reason why I got it on Switch also is because it was on sale for, I think, $2 or $3 on the eShop.
Oh, that's not bad. It's like $15 on Steam. So
yeah, see, I wouldn't have paid 15 for it because it's either 15 or 20 also on the eShop, but because they might have gotten that Switch tax, I can't remember. But like $2-3, I was like, yeah, why not? I could go for something like this right now. And there's a follow-up game, but I think if I'm not mistaken, that game is not as well received.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I'll take a look into it after I'm done with this. Again, I really like War of the Worlds a lot, and I wish there was more done with it. But yeah, no, I'm enjoying it. So if it goes on sale again for $2 or $3 on the Switch, I think it's definitely worth the $2 or $3. Just be warned that it is clunky. It does feel like that typical sort of indie Steam release where it's just like, here's a game that's probably borderline playable. It's going to be a lot of broken elements to it. I actually, right before we got on, I somehow fell. I'm on this ship. I'm not going to explain why. I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm on this ship at the moment, and I fell through. I fell through. So I'm in the bottom of the ocean now with no way to get out. I have to restart the checkpoint, which sucks because I don't know where that's going to take me. Some of the checkpoints are forgivable, other ones are not.
Right.
So it's always a surprise, and so
the checkpoint was you falling.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Can you imagine? Oh God! No, that's gonna be miserable. At that point,
Too bad it's been manifested now. You can't get it.
But lastly, I've been playing Time on Frog Island. So I'll get through this quick because I'm only allowed to talk about the first hour right now because this game is under embargo.
Oh, okay.
It's early access. I played it on the Switch. Now you can play Time on Frog Island Prologue, which is free on Steam at the moment. But I got access to what is essentially the full build 2 months ahead of time. Okay, this game comes out July 12th, I believe. All right, wow. So I'm playing it now. So I'm not going to talk about the bugs or the glitches and stuff like that because obviously stuff like that's going to be inevitable this early on. But I'll just talk about kind of what it is and how it plays. So Time on Frog Island is basically kind of akin to the games we've been seeing lately that kind of take place on islands, kind of a life simulator, a farming simulator. Not so much emphasis on the farming part of it, but stuff like Cozy Grove or Don't Starve and My Time at Portia, games like that where you kind of show up on this island. In this case, you're shipwrecked on this new island, and but it's an island full of frogs, full of amphibious creatures, right? And they're sort of humanoid as well. So they've built this culture and a living there and an ecosystem and everything like that. And they have their own sort of commerce and everything like that. But a big part of this game emphasizes what they call a spaghetti network of trades, right? Which I think could not be more accurate, because a lot of the game, there's no dialogue in this game. A lot of the speech and sort of conversation and messaging is conveyed through um, images, right? So it uses a lot of imagery to speak to you, right? So if someone's like, someone has a question mark, then they're probably really confused about something, or they're looking for something, you talk to them, and then they'll have a picture of like a plant, right? And then you just go look for that plant, you find that plant, you bring it back to them, and then a picture of a smiley face will come up. They're happy, you know, congrats, you did it. So it's sort of like that. There's no explicit dialogue. Um, to kind of tell you what's going on. And then the story is sort of light at the moment. You kind of get flashbacks of your previous life or whatever when you go to sleep at your makeshift camp that you made really quick at the beginning of the game. And and yeah, so basically, I mean, you're just kind of going around this island that's actually like really, really like pretty, and you just sort of meet people and get them what they want. Some people just want to straight up trade, like, hey, I'll give you, this canvas for a statue that I'm looking for, and then you trade that, and then maybe there's a painter nearby that's looking for a canvas, and you give it to the painter, and then they give you something. It just it's just kind of like interweaves and intersects like that too.
The art style is really cool.
It's really, really cool, and that's what sort of like drew me to it a lot was the art direction of it. And but one thing this game does that I like a lot compared to other games of this nature is it almost emphasizes its platforming a lot because even though it's not a platformer by any means, it is very much a sort of like stranded on an island sort of life sim. But you can use items to sort of propel you to jump higher, and then you can put mushrooms down to make you bounce and get to higher ground. And you can use, let's just say, the canvas I mentioned earlier. If you were to jump off of a cliff, you can use that canvas actually to glide. Every item has some sort of property to it that makes you either run really fast, you can glide, you can get a double jump, even sometimes a triple jump. You can jump really high with those mushrooms, like I said. You can just do so much with the environment around you, and it's really, really cool. Like if you see some like quick little teasers of it, you can see like I almost thought it was a platformer at first, just because of like how they were jumping from cliff to cliff and rock to rock. But it's not. It's really not. But it has that flexibility where if you do want to do that to get to higher ground and stuff like that, it's just really cool that you have those sorts of animations and controls and mechanics set into place, because it just makes everything seem a lot more just fluid. That way you don't have to walk really slow everywhere. It gives you another option of traversal basically, and it's really, really nice. But yeah, the first hour again, I've played more than an hour, but from what you'll more or less be experiencing in the first hour is basically you're going to get used to the island. The island is deep, not necessarily big, but it's deep. So you're going to see a lot of different areas. And even though you don't get a map, everything is immediately recognizable. They did a very good job at designing, so you don't really feel like you ever get lost. You kind of know where you are once you play around a little bit, because every area that you walk into is very distinct. You're not going to have a lot of those sorts of crossover or layover sorts of styles and areas, because other than basic trees or rocks, and obviously the fact that you're on an island, but otherwise every single area feels different. And you have signs also that sort of have pointers and have little like icons on them as well to kind of tell you like, hey, there's like a little flower area here, so it's got an icon of a flower. You go there's a bunch of flowers everywhere. You can use that to pick flowers and whatnot. There's a farming area. There's a like little village area. There's a beach area, obviously. There's more of a sort of business area, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool, and it's very relaxing. The game doesn't force you to do anything really, really quick. It does have a day-night cycle, but the time that you're given between the day and the night, because you will have to go to sleep eventually, is very lenient. I never felt like I was rushed to do anything. I was very relaxed the whole time playing. And even when it got nighttime, again, you're not rushed to do anything. Everyone's where you expect them to be. You don't have to wait till the following day to do anything really. Maybe for certain things, but otherwise, you're free to do whatever you want, and it's really nice just kind of walking around this island and just kind of experiencing everything and just talking to all these frog people. It's really interesting and seeing the sort of life that they live and you adapting to that life as well. But yeah, it's really neat. It comes out July 12th, I believe. I don't quote me on that 100%. I could be wrong. But it will be on Nintendo Switch and Xbox. I'm not sure if it's coming out to PlayStation. Obviously, it's coming out on PC via Steam.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually going to be on Game Pass also. I could be wrong. It might be coming to Game Pass, so definitely worth checking out for anyone who's a Game Pass subscriber. And yeah, but from the little bit that I've played so far, I've enjoyed it. I can't talk past the first hour.
Download
But yeah,
the prologue. Try it on the Steam Deck.
Yeah, for sure.
It'll be fun to play on the Steam Deck. I'm interested.
Absolutely.
I've never heard of it until you just mentioned it. So
yeah,
but I did notice that it was on Nathaniel's wish list. So it was like
I just added it while we're talking.
Oh, did you?
It.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Steve told me that, and I'm like, hey, Nathaniel knew about that too. It's like, but yeah, I added it to mine as well.
I mean, it's been there for a long time, John. How do you only notice it now?
I don't know. It was weird. I was like,
I've had it since before it was even announced.
Yeah. What?
But yeah, that's everything I've been playing.
All right, cool. Let's hit some news real quick before we go. Embracer Group actually bought some studios from Square Enix. This kind of came from out of nowhere.
Big studios too.
I was really caught off guard with this one.
Crystal Dynamics, Square Enix Montreal, and they bought all the properties those IPs that come with that, like Tomb Raider and Deus Ex and Thief and those kind of things. And the thing is they bought them for $300 million, which I thought was pretty cheap.
They're cheap, like and that ties into the second story. Is Sony's totally buying Square Enix, or Square Enix wants to be bought by Sony or someone else, and that's why that's the whole they're getting rid of the stuff because they never knew what to do with the Western studios anyway. Because they always
they were always kind of like the stepchild.
They tried to put the stupid extra multiplayer crap into those games and force it in there where it doesn't work. They're always like, "Hey, you didn't make $12 billion when you came out. Oh, that wasn't up to expectations." For literally every single game from the Western studios put out, never met their expectations, which makes you wonder what expectations did you have? Because they all sold pretty well, like a lot of them did anyway. So it's just kind of like, all right, hopefully Embracer Group either does something good with them or gives them to somebody else for a profit. With how cheap they bought them, they could just turn around and sell it to someone else.
They could, but it seems like Embracer Group has the mentality of a hands-off kind of thing. We buy the studios, we let them do what they want to do and the time they want to do it, and then we don't bother them with it. I know there's several people out there that do not like Embracer Group, and
wasn't there some really bad press with them?
There was something about drugs.
On like 8chan or something. Was that them?
I don't know.
Like 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
And I tried to look some of that up because I saw a lot of people on Twitter complaining that they do nothing but they launder money through drugs and this and that and that and this. And I could not find a single thing on there. So either it's all been removed from the web or I am not looking in the right spot or searching the right terms.
You got to go to shadier websites.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. But and like you said, that does lead into the next story. I think that Square Enix was selling those off to either merge, be bought by Sony, or
I've heard that from different podcasts and stuff of people who know a little bit more about this stuff talking about it, and that seems to be what a lot of people think, even if they didn't hear anything or whatever. Just like whether it's Sony or someone else, they're trying to shore up their company to be like, oh look, we're valuable, please buy us, we don't have all these other things over here that don't make us money, it's just look at all this other stuff. As far as I'm concerned, they sold off the part of Square Enix that I cared about. Like the rest of Square Enix, I don't care because I'm not a Final Fantasy person or any of the other stuff, so it's all the Western studio stuff was what I cared about from Square Enix.
I like Final Fantasy stuff. What worries me with, I don't know, I go back and forth with, I'm glad Embracer Group bought them if there was going to be a group that bought them. I mean, I know everybody always says Microsoft. Well, we want Microsoft to buy them because it'll be on Xbox, it'll be on PC, it'll be on cloud, it'll be on this, it'll be on that, and that's fine. But Microsoft is not going to be making another purchase until this whole Activision Blizzard stuff is finished. They just not. They got the FTC looking at things, and now that's our third story. The FTC is looking at Sony's deal with Bungie. So when the FTC gets into things, most new acquisitions stop until that all gets through regulators.
What they don't tell you is the FTC is just looking into it more for Bungie. We're like, Bungie, what are you doing?
And and I look at the Bungie deal with Sony, and Sony says that Bungie stuff is going to be multi-platform. It's not going anywhere, and I think that's because they bought Bungie because of their knowledge of free to play games like Destiny. The multiplayer.
I don't think that the purchase of Bungie was about Destiny.
No,
right?
It's not about games. It's about
future concepts and technology. Yeah,
it's their infrastructure. What? You got your voice on again. What'd you say?
And networking is what I was saying.
Okay. Yeah. You had this real high pitched voice on
there.
Yeah,
it comes in and out sometimes.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know what's going on there. It's weird. You sound like a little kid every once.
Even the Sony thing, like all of the tea leaves are there, right? Like it really looks like Sony is buying Square. But at the same time, just like with the history of Square, it is a little weird. Like they've always had a really good relationship, but it was one that they never needed to be, together. For a while, Sony bailed them out by purchasing 18%, right, of their stocks. But then they just sold it back when Square was in a better place financially. It was just like, hey, bro, we're cool. Let me help you out. You helped us out with some exclusivity stuff. Like
it's two Japanese companies working together, and that's not. Then that happens a lot. One Japanese company does not want to see another Japanese company go under. They buy the stock, hold it until they're in a better place, and then sell it back to them. I mean that's happened lots of times. My thing was. My worry with Square, as Sony buying Square, is that those Final Fantasy games and stuff like that will be put behind the PlayStation wall. I don't have faith in Sony right now to say we're going to release those on PC day one. Hey, those Square Enix games that come to Switch, the Octopath Traveler and those kind of games. Yep, we're still going to put those kind of games on Switch, but they'll be on PlayStation as well. I could see, because Sony tries so hard to keep Final Fantasy games on the Sony platform as long as they can, like Final Fantasy VII Remake and stuff like that. And I think, and I'm not saying I need them to come to Xbox. The Final Fantasy games, they're on Xbox fine. They sell great. I don't go to Xbox to play Final Fantasy games.
It's a relatively new thing too, because
it's
for the longest time they weren't on Xbox, and then they got a few, and they're like,
it was what,
Sony does buy it, there's no way they're putting Final Fantasy anywhere else. Like
I don't think
why
so
would
either.
they? The same with all the studios Microsoft has bought, they're not going to put like all those elsewhere because that's why you buy them.
I worry about them even putting them on PC. I don't even know if they're at least not on day one. And that was kind of going back to my thing.
I think they would.
Would they though? I mean, I don't know.
I think they would end up on PC eventually.
Well, yeah, eventually, but I mean on day one.
Well, for the one that they're developing now that they've already shown off, I think there's a high chance because of Final Fantasy 15 being on PC and all that stuff. They were already planning to do that from the start when they started development on the game, so they've probably got a PC port working on that. Unless Sony tells them just stop working on it.
Right.
Well, I mean, when they announced 16, they were very this is console exclusive on PlayStation, right? So like that verbiage is intentional. That obviously had some sort of PC iteration, at least conceptually planned. I don't know if it's been started or what, but I definitely think that's going to end up on PC at some point. Who knows what they're going to do in the future, though? I mean, Final Fantasy games aren't coming out that quickly anymore. It's been, 6 years since the last mainline?
Yeah, plus from earlier, I was talking about Sony having the PC plans of doing, hiring people for that type of stuff. It would make sense that, hey, this is a thing that's already been on PC in the past. We'll put it out there because they're already working on it. Like, why wouldn't they?
Yeah. it just makes me worried because a lot of Sony doesn't think they need PC day one, but they don't maybe necessarily need it, but they could make a whole lot more money. And I'm not saying every like God of War comes out on PC day one, but like Final Fantasy, there's a large base of players on PC who like Final Fantasy, and they like it on PC. And if you're going to say, well, this PlayStation game comes out, we own this studio, it's only going to be on PlayStation 5, PC version's coming, maybe sometime, we don't know when, it's like, or if, or ever, I don't know.
You're looking at it from the consumer perspective, but it makes total sense from Sony perspective. We can sell it twice. If we do it day one, they won't buy it twice.
Yeah, I know, but I just...
And it sucks, but, that makes sense.
I feel like we're just reaching a point in the industry where things like that is going to change. Nintendo is always going to be Nintendo. There's no doubt about that. You're never going to see a Mario on PC. It's probably never going to happen because they don't need to. Regardless of what PlayStation thinks, Nintendo is the best-selling console in the world. Sony is a close second, depending on the month that you look at. Last month it was, the past 2 months it hasn't been, but that varies from month to month. But every month it's always Nintendo's number one. So they have no reason to, because people buy Nintendo systems. Not everybody buys a PlayStation or buys an Xbox. We do because we have to have them all. But not everybody's like that. It's just Final Fantasy is just such a big, or Square Enix is just such a big company with Final Fantasy and with their other games. That's some are only available on. I'm still shocked that Octopath Traveler is available on Xbox. That's still
Square Enix is a big company that doesn't have a big catalog. They've got Final Fantasy, and that's pretty much it until you include some of those small games that have come out on Switch and things like that. But otherwise, they had a lot more big games when they still had the Western studios, but now they don't have that. It's just we pretty much just have Final Fantasy is the thing you would know us from, for at least most general people, right?
Which always cracks me up about Final Fantasy, because the reason Final Fantasy even exists, it was the last hurrah of Square. They had no money. They hardly had any money left. They made this game, and they called it Final Fantasy because it was going to be their final game.
And their last hurrah, three
their
times.
Last hurrah, it's like we have no money, we hope it sells, and all of a sudden it's like, well, now that's the company is Final Fantasy. It's.
I mean, that's why it's so well named. It being final was the fantasy.
Yeah, that was the fantasy. I don't know. It's not that I trust Microsoft over Sony. I don't trust Sony. I just don't. And that's just, I don't like it. I understand, with games like Halo and God of War and stuff like that. Of course, you want those exclusively on your system. But, there's some games, if you buy a company, you've got that's always had games on Nintendo or always had, it's like even Microsoft has come out and said, Call of Duty is not going exclusive to Xbox. It's going to stay multi-platform. It's going to be on PlayStation. It's going to be on PC. It's
too much of a juggernaut anyway.
Yeah, it's too much of a juggernaut. You can't take that away from people. Yeah. The Microsoft buys studios.
It's less that, and it's more that if we keep doing that, we have a lot more money coming our way.
Right. Yeah. Well, and Microsoft, and Microsoft wants it to be a day one Game Pass game, but yet still be released on other consoles. They want it on Game Pass. They don't necessarily want to put it behind and keep it close to the cuff. They want it multi-platform, but they want it day one on Game Pass. They want to give that person, you can go spend $70 on it and buy it on PlayStation or Xbox or whatever, but if you have a subscription, you will get it day one on Game Pass, and it will not cost you any more money. That's what Microsoft wants. They don't, they want more subscribers. And I know everybody's, I don't want to subscribe. I don't want to buy Xbox and have to subscribe to something. You don't have to subscribe to anything if you buy an Xbox. You don't have to. If you don't want to subscribe to Game Pass, don't subscribe to Game Pass. Just go buy your games. It's fine. You have an option to subscribe to it.
I think that's how they make it look appealing. Also, it's just like, hey, by the way, it's it's still available on PlayStation if you want to buy
Yeah.
on PlayStation, $60-$70, whatever. Or you could just pay the $15.
Yeah, and get it over here. Come over
Day
here and
one,
play.
save yourself $45.
And it's still cross-platform play. You're going to be able to play with everybody. You just don't have to buy. You don't have to spend $70 up front. You just get it with your subscription. That makes sense. I don't know, and with what Sony's kind of doing with things right now, it's like I don't know if they buy Square Enix. I just don't trust them to say yes. We're going to put Final Fantasy on. PC. Not that I have a dog in the fight. I have a PlayStation 5, so if I want the next Final Fantasy, it's no big deal. I'll just buy it on PlayStation 5. Big deal, big whoop. But like I said, I know there's a large group of people out there who play Final Fantasy on PC that I don't want to see shut out of things like that. That's I hate to say anti-consumer, but I mean it is.
But it was never day and date anyway.
Yeah,
not usually, but but there is I don't.
When I think Final Fantasy on PC, I would think more like 14 rather than the just story games would be a bigger deal. If they took that off PC, that would be a much bigger deal than like, 16's not coming to PC now or something. Would be still a deal, but not not the same thing.
That was why 7 didn't come to PC immediately either, because Sony bought those things to keep it off PC. That was the thing. And then when it did come to PC, it didn't even come to Steam. It came to Epic, came in and said, well, we'll buy it. We'll buy it for exclusively on Epic Store. So then it's like, well, then you've locked out Steam people too. That unless they, I know a lot of
that's not locking crap out.
Well, no, it's not. But
I know download a different launcher. It's
I know a lot of people don't like it. Either way, some people.
I've come around. I don't care anymore.
I don't.
I mean, I don't like having 4 different launchers, but I still have them. They're free.
Yeah, I do too.
Launchers that combine everything into one thing, and then it doesn't matter which one.
Right. Yeah. Even the Bethesda launcher now is going away, and they're just moving everything to Steam. So
I'd forgotten they even had a launcher.
Yeah. See, that's it. And it makes me.
I was a little. I was concerned at first because the only thing I really had of Bethesda's on PC, other than the free stuff I got from Epic, was ESO, anyways. But that had its own launcher. That was never through the Bethesda launcher. So when I heard that, I was like, oh my god, I got to do everything right away. And then I did it, and then it said, sorry, you have no games in your account. I was like, what? But then apparently that's because ESO is on a completely different.
Yeah.
It's completely standalone because I don't have it through Steam. I have it standalone through its.
Right.
Through its website, whatever. So
whatever it is. Yeah. I don't know. It's just to me, I think we're in a change of a lot of things are changing in the way games are going to be released, the way we're going to get games. And I know I'm sitting here saying that over a weekend where Xbox has had outages and people haven't been able to play their games, but the people who have been yelling that haven't been able to play their games are people that are game sharing or don't have their friggin' Xbox set up as their home Xbox. How could you not have your Xbox set up as your home Xbox? It doesn't make sense. Why haven't you done this? If you haven't done this, you're not going to play games if the server goes down. Yeah. I haven't had any issues. I have 2 Xboxes and I have not had any issues with it. But, I don't know. I can rant about stupid people all I want all day long. It seems like all I do. If it's not stupid people in video games, it's stupid people in the real world, or it's stupid people at the...
I think that's a different podcast.
Yeah, I could do a stupid people podcast where I just fuss all day about stupid people, and because my wife could just record it when I'm arguing or when I'm fighting about it in the car when we're driving somewhere. It's like, I don't know, but it's
find it on our TikTok page.
Yeah, exactly. What grinds my gears? Like
Family Guy.
What's his Family Guy? What really grinds my gears? But yeah, I don't know. To me, I can't. I just don't have the faith in Sony that I have in other companies that I've seen change. And I understand that they're in a place where they don't have to do things like everybody else does. But at the same time, it's like, a little goodwill goes a long way. Consumer confidence goes a long way. But maybe a lot of those people who are hardcore PlayStations don't, that's what they want. I don't know. Seems like it from
Sony,
I read on Twitter. It's like
Sony has been very reactionary though. So even if let's say this goes through and they don't plan on putting them on PC, in the past when people have been vocal, enough people have been vocal at Sony, they change their mind. And that, I mean, they are evolving. They are just evolving slow. And a lot of that has to do with, their company being a Japanese-based company. And they just, the way that businesses work over there are a little bit different. And maybe they're slower to adapt to some of the more Western business ideas. But they're getting there.
I look, I remember the days of Sega and them being slow to adapt. And then they were gone. it's like do I think that's going to happen to Sony? No, I don't. PlayStation is the only thing Sony's really got going for them other than their TVs. I mean, that makes their most money other than their movies. But I mean, it's not going to go away. But I look at that and I go, oh my gosh, if this had been 20 years ago, Sony would just be dead in 2 years because they're moving too slow. They can't. But I don't know. It's if I would rather see Sony buy them than Square Enix go under. Which I don't think Square Enix is.
They're not even in danger of going under.
I don't understand. It's like all of a sudden I read stories of. Ubisoft is bracing for either a takeover, another attempt at a takeover, or to be bought. It's like why does everybody all of a sudden have all these? I say independent, but all these studios, companies out there. Why all of a sudden are we going to get to a place where we're just going to have like 3 big companies: Microsoft, Sony, Tencent,
that's what it's gotten
and
to
Embracer
with cable.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how it is with cable. If you see when television first started, the broadcast companies, there used to be almost up to 100, and then now it's been just kind of getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and then probably in the 90s there was down to 20, and now I think we're literally down to 6, 7. It's like because people just keep getting bought. What's Disney owns what? Just thinking about it off the top of my head, they own Fox, right?
Did you not see? I'll send you my little picture of everything that Disney owns. It will blow your mind. I mean, there's
a lot.
There's stuff that I didn't even realize that they had anything to do with travel companies.
You just
National
need to stop with that and just do a picture of planet Earth, and there you go.
Yeah. As someone who goes to Disney, and let's see, can you see my lightsabers? You can't. They're too small. I'm too far away. They're right there. Oh no! Wait, they're up. They're up here. But anyway, it's like I, as somebody who buys a lot of Disney stuff, since he's a Star Wars fan and a Marvel fan, he's wearing a Marvel shirt that says Disney down here on the bottom of it.
Speaking of Marvel, did you guys take advantage of? I just did it last night. Since it's an Xbox perk at the moment, getting that 3 free months.
I'm already a subscriber. I've been a subscriber for years. Yeah, I've been a subscriber for years.
Okay.
So.
Okay. I used to have DC All Access, but I've never done the Marvel stuff. But yeah, just tried it now, and it's a big selection. So
it's daunting. It's like, where do I even want to start? I mean, there's like there's tons of stuff. Yeah, I do both DC and Marvel. I just do the DC monthly. I pay for the Marvel once a year.
Yeah.
I don't even. I think it was during lockdown is when I started doing when we weren't doing anything, and I've just paid for it ever since. So
yeah, it's been a while because I used to read anything and everything New 52. Like the moment there was a new series in New 52 coming out, I bought it. And then I slowed down a little bit with Rebirth, so I haven't really read much on the DC side of things. But hopefully this will get me back into heavy read of comics.
I ended up going online and going, okay, show me a timeline of what order to read the Star Wars Marvel comics in, and I've gotten through quite a bit of them, and then they keep adding them. It's like, I'm never going to get through all of them. I'm never going to get to a point where I go, I only have 3 comics to read this month. And you get points for comics that you read. I've got like 45,000 points that I've never spent. They always send me emails going, hey, you've got all these points, you need to buy things with it. And I'm like, I don't even know what to buy. Can I buy a subscription? Do I have to?
That'd be neat.
Can I use my points for a subscription?
What can you redeem for that anyways? Because I noticed that earlier today about the
they have posters and physical comic books and toys and stuff.
Well, that's
like
the next thing you can collect, right? Is comic books.
Oh yeah,
I see some bare wall over there.
Yeah, I know, right? As somebody who had like, I don't even remember how many comics I had. I sold all of them. I've got one long box left, and it's just my DC comics. Those are the only ones I kept, were my Batman and Superman comics. Everything else was gone. And Star Wars, I have like original Dark Horse Star Wars comics. I kept those. Everything else is gone because when we moved, I lost a long box somewhere with half of my Marvel in it. It had the first 15 issues of Ghost Rider. I still cannot find that. I don't know where it ended up, where it disappeared. I don't know if I left it at the house before we sold it. I don't know. I've yet to find it. So I've got my the only Marvel I kept was my Ghost Rider comics, and I'm missing the first 15 issues of the Ghost Rider comics because I don't know where they ended up. They just disappeared with all those other Marvel comics. So after that, I am done collecting physical comic books because I don't care anymore. I just don't.
Yeah, it's too much, honestly. And plus, I've built such a nice library on my Kindle, anyways, where it's just like it's nice just seeing it all, versus like, because comics, you can't really display comics in the same sort of nice fashion that you can with figures or with games, So since they're so thin, I mean, even with graphic novels.
Books.
Yeah,
like regular books, they have a spine that you can see.
And with me, it's like I didn't want to. I don't like to take. I'd read them once or twice, to put them up, and then never take them out again. There were some comic books, literally, that I had since high school, since '93, that had never been taken out of the plastic. I read them once, put them in the plastic, and then put them in the long box, and they were flat pressed. They'd never been opened. It was like, just that one time, it was like, you know what? It's silly for me to hang on to this stuff. And, I've had it for 25 plus years and not opened it one time, And then it's like, well, I don't want to because I don't want to get oils on there. Or, it was print before they had the nice print that stayed, so it would rub off like a newspaper print on your fingers. So if you watch it, you flip it too many times and you're smearing pages, and it's like, forget it. I'll just read it on my Kindle or my iPad or my phone or whatever, and I'll enjoy it that way, and that's fine. I mean, I still have a few comics, but not like I used to back in the day, and this was in the 90s. I was spending $25 a week on comics, and that was a lot of comics back then because comics were still $1.50, $2.
Yeah, that's a lot.
You're paying $25, spending $25 a week on comics. I was bringing home stacks of them. But yeah, I got out of the collecting comics a long time ago. Now I just got games. See,
yeah, only
they don't take up
that
much space,
and that's not even a quarter of it. There's 2 more stands over here, and there's 2 more stands in the other side of the basement with more games on it. So yeah, or action figures. There's a whole. You can't see it, but there's a whole. Nope, that's the wrong way. It's behind me. There's a whole metal or glass case back there with nothing but Star Wars figures in it. They've invaded the bookcase over here where I have all my strategy guides at. So I have G.I. Joes here in front of me. The computer desk here is completely covered with action figures now. I've run out of room, and I just buy more of them. And my wife just looks at me and goes, whatever, it's fine, it's all good. But yeah, so yeah, you and Robert worrying about me running out of room. I have a whole other side to this basement that's 3 times the size of this room we haven't even done anything with yet. So.
God.
So yeah, I've got more space to fill, just haven't filled it.
Hashtag goals.
Yeah, hashtag goals.
Right.
And then I'm never going to move again because it's like, this is it. We're not moving anywhere else because I'm not packing all this crap up and moving. All right. So has anybody got anything else before we go? Robert, anything? Anybody want to pimp? Robert, Dennis, anybody? Nothing going on?
You can catch me on Twitch Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Mm-hmm.
What time? 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific. So yeah, I'll see you then.
All right, cool. All right. Well, if we got nothing else, we're going to go. Once again, like I always say, if you want to know when shows are going to go live and you want to join us in the chat room at GL_podcast, I try to put it up a couple hours before we go up, so you can come hang out if you want. If not, you get it on the podcast catcher of your choice. For some reason, I can't I usually put it up on Sundays, so in the morning. So either way, you're always aware. All right. Well, guys, thanks again for hanging out with us and listening, and we'll catch you all next show.